We got a backstory episode. Yo, what is up, Crocs and Climbers Poke fans? We're here to talk about episode 75 of Pokemon Horizons. We are now at 3 quarters to 100. You know, we're almost there. It was a good episode. I will say that right off the bat, right off the jump. It was a good episode. I like the backstory we got with Bristol. We get more information on Lucius. Even Gibeon gets a callback in there. You know, I like what they did to further expand this world that they've created for the anime. And also sets up, like, I'm assuming the next goal, you know, which is to get Entei, right? Entei is now our primary goal for right now, right? But I like Bristol. She's cool. The whole flashback sequence, you know, where her meeting Lucius, and then them running into Gibeon, and then becoming a team, and then looking for everything else. It's fine in the end. Like, the one thing that's confusing me is that they mentioned Briar's ancestor in the flashback. So by the time that Lucius meets Terapagos is already like a known entity, right? Which means, I don't know what it means. Like, I know that they're really pushing this whole idea that there's 2 different Terapagoses in the universe, right? You have the one that Bristol had, and this other one that Briar's ancestor found and discovered and all that stuff, right? Which is the same one that Briar interacted with, right? I just want to know if there's gonna be something that's gonna like put them in the same vicinity or something, because at this point it just feels weird to even have this plot point in there. Just saying, like, I want to reinstate, I like this episode. It's just the one thing that confused me about it is that they're really hammering in that this Terapagos is different from an existing Terapagos that exists in the history of this universe, right? So, are we eventually going to get a moment where these 2 interact? That's my question, right? The other thing is that I think we can finally understand why Gibeon is still alive, right? Because he fell into the Rakurium, right? At least from what they showed in the flashback when they were in Rakua, right? He fell down a crevice after, like, it exploded, right? And Zygarde is still with him, which means that when they both fell, somehow the mystical properties of the Rakurium did something to Gibeon's body to where he's still alive, right? At least that's the mindset I'm going with for right now. Until I see anything else that proves otherwise, I think that the reason he might have been in like suspended animation or something, right? Because that's what I'm assuming. Lucius, if they're really trying to drive home this point that Gibeon is the same Gibeon from back then, that means that Lucius is still alive. Because the way they showed it off in the flashback is that Terapagos like sacrificed itself, right, to create this giant dome barrier around like where the Rakurium stuff was at, right, which prevented it from spreading, right, and Lucius was trapped in there, and then like he promised Pokemon one day we'll all meet again, right, and all this other shit. Or we saw in the beginning, I was like, I don't know, man, you seem a little sus abandoning your Pokemon just so you can go to the Pokemon Paradise, right? But by having it set up like this, that means that he was basically stopping the world from ending, and his Pokemon now have to return because Terapagos used the power of the 6 heroes to like create this dome barrier, and then Lucius was stuck in there, and then Bristol was able to escape while pregnant, which that was the thing. They were gonna say it at some point. I just figured that Bristol was probably the one that's gonna say it, but the fact that Lucius knows like just gives him this more aura of like, oh, I'm all knowing and great and shit like that, right? They were trying to like hype this man up, right? Like he's like, I already know you're pregnant, right? You gotta protect our child, right? So you gotta run away. And then like it was so wild. Even Bristol was like, you know what? Even if I disappear, my daughter, my child, will not know who her father was. Which is a little fucked up if you want to think about it like that. It's like, I'm not going to say nothing. We are going to disappear into the voids of history. No one's going to know about us, okay? your daddy doesn't exist. I'm gonna die because she dies young, right? And no one's gonna know shit, right? You're gonna have my pendant, which is the Tropico's, but we're not gonna say nothing, right? Which is like, why? Oh my goodness, I don't understand why. Even being the most generous with her, I don't understand what her ploy was, right? What benefit is there for you and Lucius to completely vanish from history, right? Why doesn't your daughter get to find out who her father was? Right? Are you afraid that she's going to go and try to find him? Even you don't know what Rakua is. So why the fuck does it matter? And the thing is, it doesn't even help anything because your granddaughter somehow, some way found out about this man and spent a majority of her life looking for him, right? Or trying to find where he eventually ended up in, right? So it's not like you achieved anything because like it didn't even skip a couple generations. You let your little granddaughter went out to find this man without even knowing they're related, right? I don't know. It's just, listen, Ristal, you're cool. I like you as, you know, everything that you showed off in the flashbacks and like the lore and the history behind you and Lucius and your connections and all that stuff. But I just gotta say, your plan was stupid from the jump, okay? I don't know what you thought you were gonna achieve with this, but it clearly didn't work because you didn't tell your daughter, yet your granddaughter immediately started. I kind of want to get a scene of like Diana when she was younger and started all this shit, and her mom was like, "What are you doing?" Because the thing is, Diana didn't even know that Ristal was her grandmother. She had never heard that name before. So I'm just like, okay, what happened between you? Like, this is me speaking to Diana. Like, what happened between you and your mother that she didn't even know who her dad was, which means she doesn't know who your grandfather is. And then on top of that, she didn't even tell you who your grandmother is. I don't know, there's a lot of variables that I highly doubt they're ever going to talk about. Ever. Okay, I don't think this is ever going to be a thing. But I would be interested to learn more about it, right? But other than that, I mean, I'm really looking forward to what's going to happen in the future. Right? I want to know Gibeon's whole backstory, right? I want us to get an episode just dedicated to Gibeon and his point of view, his perspective, because this motherfucker went crazy, right? As soon as he started learning about this fucking recruiting shit, right? Like, they told him, let's leave, and he's like, fuck that. And like, he sacrificed his own Zygarde, right? Because before, he had the 50% Zygarde, right? And it had to like, because it's the guardian of the ecosystem, right? That's like Zygarde's whole dynamic, right? It needs to protect the ecosystem. So like it had to like sacrifice like 40% of itself, right? Because it's 50% now, it's 10%. So it sacrificed 40% of its entire being to stop this thing from expanding and growing and creating chaos, right? And now it's just Zydog because of Gibeon's selfishness. So I'm hoping that actually leads to something eventually, right? But other than that, I'm everything else was fine. Like I said, I like this episode. One last thing before we finish off this review is there's something fishy going on with Spinel because it's fine. I can understand that. Like, they have a fucking rivalry and whatever the fuck. But the fact that he's circumventing Hamburg makes me think there's something else going on that we don't know about. And I'm very curious. I'm very curious to find out what the hell is going on in this man's head because to betray Ametio is whatever, right? I think that was bound to happen just because these two don't like each other. But to circumvent Hamburg means that he has some fucking hidden agenda. Because he's like, oh, the one that's going to lead Gibeon to Rakua is me. But I'm like, why? Where's the motive? What exactly is his game plan? And that's like the one thing that I'm very interested. Like, we already know this. That we're not supposed to like Spinel because he's a fucking asshole. But he is probably like the most intriguing villain out of the entire Explorers group just because of how his sneaky and conniving this motherfucker is. So I can't wait to see where they lead this character and where they go with it. So I think I'm going to leave it out there. I want to thank everybody that showed up. This is a review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. And remember, I have been your boy, SoresanCrockxen, and I will see you guys in future videos, streams, shorts, and everything in between.